was told I was different. I walked differently, I ran differently, I spoke differently. I was told I wasn't able to be an achieving man.
Karan Johar is an Indian filmmaker, producer, and television personality.
He's launched the careers of several successful actors and filmmakers under his company Dharma Productions. When Karan Johar was a young man, what did he dream to be?
I wanted to belong. I wanted to be part of the football team. I wanted to play cricket with the boys. But nobody chose me because I wasn't good enough, not man enough.
How was your feeling around the word man and masculinity changed from those early days of being told you were not man enough?
Today I walk this way and they're like, walk like a man. I'm like, no, I'm walking like myself and I love myself. I've never ever pretended to be somebody I wasn't.
This moment that you have where you start to feel some confidence or I want to be a public figure, how do you pursue that?
Rukh took me aside and said, I want you to direct a film and I'll do it. Then he called my dad and he was like, look, we should make a movie together and your son will direct a film. I'm telling you, he'll make a really good filmmaker.
There was a destiny that was calling you that way. What was the hardest moment up until then?
The toughest moment at that time was just me watching my father fail.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty.
The one, the only Jay Shetty.
Karan Johar, welcome to On Purpose India. Our first ever recording in India is with someone that had such a big impact on my life, even since before I met you, through your work, your films, your storytelling. And I'm so grateful to call you a friend. So grateful that you've taken time out today. And I've loved every minute we've spent offline, and I'm so glad we get to record online today. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for inviting me. This is truly wonderful.
So happy to have you here. And I remember the first time we connected, I think I got a DM message from you where you'd just ordered my book, Think Like a Monk.
Yes.
And I was so grateful and surprised and shocked because, as I said, I'd been watching your films ever since I was a young boy. And I thought, wow, I can't believe that Karan Johar is buying my book. It was really one of those like starstruck moments. And I wanted to start off by asking you, when Karan Johar was a young man, even younger than a young man, a little boy, what did he dream to be? Who did he want to be?
When I go back to my childhood, what did I dream of being or what did I want to be? The first thing I wanted to is just be. I wanted to belong. That's the first thing I want to do. I just felt very different from all the other boys my age, all the other kids my age. I think I was just, in those days, back in the 80s, I didn't know how to describe my headspace because I didn't understand what I was. I felt I was different. I felt I was different from the others. And I wasn't able to kind of articulate it to myself. And those were not days that, we could get any kind of counseling, any kind of, visit to somebody who could guide you, help you, nurture you in that way. Even your parents were giving you all the love. Like I was the only child, so I got a lot of love. But I knew I was very different. I was told I was, more effeminate than I should be. I walked differently. I ran differently. I spoke differently. My choices in life, my hobbies in life were different. I like to watch a lot of Hindi movies and consume that. A lot of kids in my neighborhood, we grew up in an elite neighborhood called Malabar Hill, and nobody really watched Hindi cinema at that time, Indian cinema. I was watching all those movies and dancing to those songs in my room. And boys and girls my age were listening to their parents' favorites like ABBA, or they were into Wham, George Michael, Madonna. It was a breakthrough of Western pop artists. And, I was not really getting into it. I was listening to Lata Mangeshkar and Kishore Kumar and Asha Bhosle and Mohammad Rafi, and everything about me was different. So whenever I went down, we lived in apartment blocks. And when you went down, it was the thing that all the kids of the apartment block would come down and play in the evenings. And I wanted to belong. I wanted to be part of the football team. I wanted to play cricket with the boys. But nobody chose me because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't sporty enough. I was not boy enough or man enough. So when you ask me what I wanted to be, the first thing at that age is I wanted to belong. My dreams, Jay, came much later. They came much, much later. The very first part of my formative years, my teenage years, was just to belong. And no one told me then that you don't have to. You can be your own person. That guidance, that nurturing, that philosophy of life wasn't given to me at that point of time. Like my own kids, for example, I visit my school counselors and they're really helping me, because we are a modern family. I'm a single parent. I have to guide them, make them understand our situation is very different from the other families. But I have that guidance. At that point of time in life, I didn't have. So my dreams came much later. And I remember the particular moment when my mother sat me down and I was 12 because I was going through a really rough time. I wanted to change schools. I wanted to, because I felt I was being ragged in and around. And I still went back to the same school. I didn't change school. And she told me, she says, look, I want you to be an achiever no matter what you do. I want you to be good at something. Just hold on to what you think you're good at, because I feel like you're not really nurturing, what you're good at. And I was good at like elocution and debate and drama. And that's the first time I took my mom's advice and I walked into the Interact Club. And I got, very first year, I started representing my school at debates and elocutions. And there the confidence started building. So it was something that happened organically. I think my chat with my mother was very defining. And I don't think she realizes how defining that chat was to me. It made such a big impact. And then there was that moment, Jay, when I was on stage. And it was my last day at school. Those days we had houses, right? You were red house, yellow house, blue or green. And I was red house. And I was so popular because of I was very good at English and Hindi and debate and drama elocution. And I gave my last speech, so to say, and everybody knew I was up for the gold medal. And, and at that point in time, I looked at like the 200 students staring at me and I was like, I think I'm going to be famous. As I thought in my head, it's not something that I can explain why I had it. I just felt it. So at that point of time, I was like, okay, I think I want to be a public figure. I don't know in what capacity. I didn't know I was going to land up making movies. I just felt the aura and energy of that room. And for me, it was a big deal because I never thought I would ever be anyone, because I was told I was different and I wasn't able to be an achieving man. I was told that several times, like, look, I was even told at times, like, are your parents proud of you? Because look at how you are. Like, there were things like that said to you, and you have to find your own journey, your own path in life. And at that point in time, as I said, that I didn't have the help. I had to do it on my own.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think a lot of people listening right now, they know the Karan Johar of today, but many may not know that time. And I think you spoke about this really important difference between fitting in and belonging.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, when we're young, we think we have to fit in.
Yeah.
And then when you grow older, you realize you just have to be and belong, and first belong to yourself. But like you said, that as a kid, you don't have the skills, you don't have the tools, you don't have the language, you don't have the vocabulary. When you're going through that before you have this defining conversation with your mother, what would you turn to? Did you process through crying? Did you process through talking to someone else? How would you even deal with those emotions? Because
I lived vicariously through cinema, through Hindi movies, through vintage Raj Kapoor, through Yash Chopra, through Guru Dutt. I was maybe an old soul because I was so attracted to the more soulful cinema of that time. It was all Hindi cinema at that time. So I was watching Pyasa and Kagaz Ke Phool. I was watching Bimal Roy. I was watching like literally Guru Dutt and enjoying like that level of cinema at a very young age. And I feel like cinema was my like release, in some way my safe space. I felt every time I watched movies, it made me go into that world. And I was so absorbed by that world that I didn't need to look inward because I was already in another world.
Yeah.
And it really gave me wings to fly. I never resorted to self-pity or crying or sulking or weeping and feeling terrible for myself. I didn't do any of that. I just was so absorbed with cinema and cinema music. I remember there was a film called Sangam that released when I was 8 years old. There was a song, Duffly Wale, and I was obsessed with that song. It had veteran actors in it, Rishi Kapoor and Jaya Pratha. And it was directed by a veteran, K. Vishwanath. And I had seen that movie and I'd gone crazy. And I went to see that film multiple times. And nobody in the neighborhood came with me. So I would take like our house help with us to go and, see the movie. Because even my parents said, like, we can't keep watching the same film, because I would watch that film. And then I would come back and I would play those songs on my audio cassette. We used to have like cassettes in those days, and I would dance. I would dance on my own. And somehow my parents thought that was absolutely okay. Like my dad would encourage me to dance, not realizing that actually I'm doing something unusual for a boy, dancing to all the female steps. I was doing something unusual, but he would encourage me, and he didn't realize then, but he was a liberal father. He was a progressive father. He never said like, walk like a man, speak like a man. He never said any of that to me. He loved me like unabashedly. And like, he thought I was great. Even when I was like large and beyond plus size, he said, you have some puppy fat, you lose it and you're like the most handsome boy in the world. Like, he made me feel so special. As I said, going back to your question, Jay, that I resorted to Hindi cinema to self-protect.
I can vouch for your love for classical music and movies, because when I came to your home, you bought my wife and I the Caravan music thing that my mom has now stolen.
Yes.
Because she
Well,
loves
I'm
it.
happy.
She
I'm
absolutely
happy. I'm
loves
happy to
it.
hear that.
So she stole
I have
it.
one in the car right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I listen to it every day. It's my soothing, like Hindi cinema music of the year is like really my like go-to at any point of any juncture in my life.
Oh, it's incredible. Now, this moment that you have where you start to feel some confidence, or I want to be a public figure, or there's this seed that's planted, how do you pursue that? How do you not get scared by it? I think a lot of people, when they have this inner calling, they hear it in a voice, they can think, oh, but no, I can't do that. It's not for me. You know, I've been laughed at. Maybe I got lucky, but you pursued it. What was the first initial step that you took towards that inner calling, inner voice?
I actually didn't do anything. Life just unfolded. When I went into college, I actually went to a public speaking academy because I wanted to kind of nurture that part, because I knew I was good at that, so I wanted to get better at it. And it was the head of that public speaking academy. He actually told me that I wouldn't encourage it today, but that time it made sense to me. Today, in the world of awareness, I think he was actually inappropriate, because he said that your voice sounds very girlish and you should bring baritone in your voice, and let me help you like get that baritone, because the world will be tough on you. And I think he meant really well. So he gave me these voice exercises, and I felt like my entire voice texture changed, because I feel like 3 years I went to him every single day to learn. With him and his wife taught me like how to get baritone in my voice to sound more like a man. And I used to tell my parents I'm going to computer class, because I didn't know how else to pay for that course, because I had to pay, because they had to give me the money. But I couldn't tell them I'm going actually to sound like a man. And 3 years later, the computer arrived in my dad's office. And he was like, you've learned it for 3 years. You know what to do. And I hadn't done a single day of computer lesson in my entire life. So I had no idea what to do with that computer. So he was like, 1 minute, but you've gone to computer class for 3 years. What have they been teaching you? And I was like, I had no explanation, because I was staring at that computer like it was an alien. I had no idea what to do with it, but I did get some baritone in my voice. Subsequently, I did a bout of theater. And I did some fashion choreography. I dabbled in a lot of creative aspects. And that's when at one juncture, I got best friends with Yash Chopra, a veteran filmmaker, legendary filmmaker, his son Aditya. And he and I got really close. And we knew each other as kids, but he said, why don't you assist me on this first film of mine called Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge? And I was like, no, I want to go to France, because I used to speak French fluently and I wanted to go and like study it further. My dad was like saying that we have a tiny export business. If you learn French, it'll help the business. My father made movies, but very unsuccessful ones. So we used to have a small export-import business of garments and handicrafts. And he said, our main client is in France. So if you learn the language, so I had learned the language. So I wanted to pursue it and go to Paris. Adi, as in Chopra, turned around and said, why are you running away from your calling? You are meant to be on a film set. He says, you have everything that a Hindi films or other cinema require. You're overdramatic, you're melodramatic, you can be funny, you love song and dance. Like, you're made for the movies. Like, why are you running away from it? I was like, who's going to watch anything I'm going to do or make? He was like, just get onto that set. So I asked my dad, and he gave me permission, and he didn't want me to do this. He was very against, because he had faced a lot of failure in the business. My mom was very worried. She just wanted me to get a salaried job. She was like, I need you to have a salary. I need for you to get like a remuneration every month, because your dad has lost a lot of money and I'm very afraid for your future. I was like, look, I really want to do this. Give me a year of my life. If I manage to kind of make any impression in the movie business, then maybe this is going to happen. That's where I met Shah Rukh. And that's where I knew Kajol from before, but I got to know her better. And 1 year on that film set, that film went on to be a massive blockbuster, a legendary film even today, defining love story. And I was on that set. Adi allowed me access to every meeting, every discussion, everything. It's because he's my mentor, my guide, my philosopher, everything. And Shah Rukh took it further. He actually took me aside and said, I want you to direct a film and I'll do it. And I thought he was just being kind and polite. And I'm like, why? He's Shah Rukh Khan. Why is he asking me? Like, what do I? Then he called my dad and he was like, look, we should make a movie together and your son will direct a film. I'm telling you, he'll make a really good filmmaker. So, I mean, Jay, I'm here because of Adi and Shah Rukh. They're the two pillars that actually moved my destiny path. So when you ask me, like, what was that? I didn't do anything. Things just happened. And I feel like Beyonce, like Destiny's Child. Like, I really believe the destiny was carved out and I just walked the path. And I made my first film. That's where I saw the arc lights. I saw the red carpets roll out, and it was an instant blockbuster. And I suddenly felt like all the tough times in my childhood, my growing years, where I was felt like I didn't belong, suddenly I felt my work belonged. And because my work belonged, my identity became my work. And it seemed like some kind of divine intervention and so much validation all at the same time. Like everything that I ever seeked and wanted and desired, and it was almost a dream. You know, it felt like a dream in 1998 when my film released. I felt like, is this really happening to me, to us as a family? It's not what I ever envisaged for myself. It's not something that I ever expected. It's not something my parents expected. It was like someone really answered a prayer, you know? But life is push and pull, right? Because you give, you get. And so some things that happened subsequently also, I was also grabbed of something. But at that moment, it felt like this is the best thing to happen to anyone.
Yeah, and that is an iconic, legendary movie. So I saw that when I was 11 years old.
Thank you.
In 98.
For aging me while I sit right in front of you, but I will allow you that.
I was just saying how early you've been in my life, or your storytelling has been in my life, and just how formative it was. And I still probably watch that movie every year. Like, I don't think you can go a year without seeing it. But I want to roll back a little bit. Were they still like, carry on with your French and let's focus on the business? Or
my mother didn't talk to me for a month.
If someone feels upset, or sometimes if you feel you've upset someone, how do you transform them?
I apologize firstly. There's nothing wrong in saying sorry. You know, there's nothing wrong in reaching someone's residence and saying, look, I was insensitive and I apologize. I did you wrong.
When I told them I wanted to be a monk, they weren't the happiest. It's not the best news to get as parents, but...
My request is always to parents. Please know that your child has to be loved no matter what.
Walk me through, you just said now that it was at that moment that all those tough moments, all those difficult moments really almost felt like they made sense. There was a destiny that was calling you that way. What was the hardest moment up until then? What was the most difficult moment that you'd experienced? Is there a memory that you have?
Yeah, there was so many. It was actually the toughest moment at that time, right prior to that, was just me watching my father fail. It was really tough. The film business, like most businesses, but the film business, I'll tell you why, is particularly can be sometimes hard because your success and failure are very known. You know, when you have a business, Jay, like, it doesn't do well, not everybody knows. Like, if any ex-person starts a shop, a business, a startup, it doesn't do well unless it's a listed company. You don't really know what's going on with anybody's business. But with a film, you know its success, you know its failure. The success is celebrated and the failure is discussed and analyzed all the time. So when my father actually produced his very first film in 1980, that did really well. And then the 4 films subsequently all failed. And we had tough financial times. Those days, producers there were no studios, there was no funding from studios, there was no corporate funding, there was no bank funding. It was like those old-fashioned producers sold homes, sold jewelry, sold stuff, and all that happened to us. My mom had to sell her maternal house.
Oh, wow.
There was jewelry sold. My father had to sell the only piece of land he owned, all because we gave some back-to-back disasters at the box office. So just watching them fail, and today when there's this whole chatter about nepotism specifically surrounding me, I laugh in my head. I'm like, my father would have had the biggest laugh because he was like, we weren't even on the radar as the most influential production house. We had failed, we had stumbled, we had fallen, and we were still rising because my father was a good man and loved by the business. He was very loved by the movie fraternity, but he was not a success story. And and to watch your own parent go through that on a daily basis is not easy. To watch your mom like cry when my dad's not watching is not easy, because I was watching both at a distance because they tried to keep me away, shelter me. But every day I saw sadness in the house. And I was yet given so much love and so much joy, yet everything they had, they would give me. Like whether it was a holiday or it was like a night out, or it was a movie, and everything that I ever wanted, I was never denied anything. It's because whatever they could have, it was for me. It was all for me. So I saw the blend of khushi and gham, happiness and sadness all at once at all at time. So the toughest times were watching all this, but then you knew that there was a silver lining coming. And the film, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, was that silver lining.
Yeah, when they saw you, Yash Chopra ji and Adi and start working with them, were they still like, carry on with your French and let's focus on the business? Or
My mother didn't talk to me for a month when I decided to do this. She was very unhappy because, as I said, she saw my father fail. And she was like, this is not the profession to be in. You don't have the wherewithal. You don't have the emotional tools. You don't have the personality for this business. You're too soft. You won't be able to. And my dad was pragmatic and he was also emotional. He was like, okay, you're asking for a year, take a year, but assure me after that year, you will do what you think is right, that is more stable. Like, please don't pursue something if you feel it's not working out. Because don't do what I did, because I've stretched myself in the business and I haven't achieved success. And I don't want that for you. But then my mom came around because Adi came and explained to my mom that, look, this is going to be great for him. And, then eventually she's my mom, so she came around. But a year later, things really started changing because when the film released, then Shah Rukh spoke to me and then opportunities, were seeming like they were coming my way. I still remember when my movie was being made, till the very last day before I went on to set, my mom actually took me aside at home and said, look, you don't have to do this. Are you doing this because everybody else is telling you to do it, or you really want to do it? Do you really think you're good enough? And I was like, I don't know. I'll have to get onto that film set. And I was like, Mom, that's not really a vote of confidence. Like a day prior to me filming Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, she said, you can still back out.
Wow.
You can still stop. She said, do you even know what to do with the camera? And I was like, she's saying, because we are not creative people. How have you got this bug? Why do you want to do this? Are you sure you are good at it? And I sat back and I actually thought about it. That entire night before I went on to film, I was like, am I making the biggest mistake of my life? Is this really meant for me? Should I be making movies at all? But then I was like, you know what? Now I can't do anything about it. Shah Rukh Khan's reporting on set at 9 a.m. in the morning. I better be on that set and try and give it my best.
What do you think Adi saw in you?
I have no idea. I ask him even now.
Really?
I have no idea what he
does
saw
he
in
say
me.
Now?
He's like, I just knew you were. He says you were so passionate about cinema, but you were subduing it and suppressing it because of your circumstance. And he was like, I just knew it. He just knew it. He's the reason I sit here across you today. And then Shah Rukh, I have no idea. Even Shah Rukh says the same thing. I don't think they have a valid explanation. I think they just felt it.
It's a feeling.
It was an instinct, which is why I think instincts are our superpowers. When we don't listen to them, we're actually failing that superpower. It's all of us have it. We're all super people. Like we all have superpowers. We don't act on it. We intellectualize it. We give it circumstance. We give it logic. We give it overthinking. But actually our first instinct is always bang on. And their first instinct was, this kid knows what he's going to do. So they acted on it, fortunately for me. But they have no rational explanation for why they asked me to do what I do today.
Walk me through an example of when you've followed your instinct and it's worked. I guess you've given some examples already, but an example of when you have ignored it or when you suppressed it.
Every time I've met a person and asked him to direct a film for me, I've met and some of the biggest filmmakers, who've come off from our studio, Dharma Productions, have been my first instinct. Whether it's Ayan Mukherjee, Shakun Batra, Shashank Khetan, so many I can mention. They're
Ayan's
all
fantastic.
Ayan's making Brahma. He's a big filmmaker. He came, met me, assisted me. I told him you should direct a film. He makes his first film called Wake Up Sid. He and several others have been a result of my first instinct. And those have a lot of people said, but why? What have they done? Have they even done anything before? Why are you asking them to direct a whole feature film? And I'm like, I felt it. And yet there are sometimes when I'm producing a film and everything about it seems right, it's all falling into place, but something's telling me that there's something wrong, but I haven't acted on it because I feel it's all looking too good to be true.
Yeah.
I remember there was a film, it was an adaptation of a Mani Ratnam film, a very beautiful film. And it was a film called Okay Janu. And Aditya and Shraddha had just done a blockbuster called Ashiki. And they had already agreed to do the film. And the film came to me as a project, ready, with a great remake. Shah was a wonderful director, wonderful actors. And yet, in my heart, I had actually felt that, should this film be remade? Because it's so much in the moment. Can that moment be recaptured?
Right.
And that movie, and as special as all my movies are to me, and both of them were incredible in the film, Aditya, Shraddha, Shah made a lovely film. But somehow, I think that magic of the original, we couldn't recapture. And it was nobody's fault. It was nobody's fault. But my instinct told me I shouldn't do it. And I did it. And that's when I realized that I should listen to my instinct. And yet after that, I haven't. And I've gone wrong. I've gone, because somehow we do repeat our mistakes. We make them again and again. No matter how you say mistakes and failings are learnings, not really. We say it. Do we really follow it? We'll make it again. till your dying day, you're going to make what you call errors or mistakes or misjudgments. And there's nothing you can do about that. No amount of spirituality, philosophy, books, sessions of like spiritual learnings can ever make you stop making those mistakes. Those mistakes also define us.
Yeah.
Those wounds and scars are also such a huge part of us. Every failure of mine is as special to me as every success. It's just the way I look at it.
How did you train yourself to look at it that way? Or have you always been that way?
I, in fact, believe extreme failure gives me relief because I feel, it failed. I know it failed. I have to analyze why, but it's failed. It's a result. Because success is so stressful. Nothing fails like success because you have to follow success with more success and then with more success. Failure is a great place to sometimes be, for you to reflect, analyze, take some time off. And also it's a verdict. It's a failure. What I can't bear, Jay, is average. I
middle.
hate average. I hate mediocre. I hate average. I hate above average, AVG, was neither here nor there. I hate that space because I don't know how much of it is tilting towards success and how much towards failure. And I can't bear that verdict. I'd rather a very big, massive failure than an average grosser. I can't bear those because those give me like nightmares about what it could have been or what I could have done and I didn't do. Whereas failure is like, I went totally wrong.
Yeah.
This is a great result. Failure gives me a lot of relief.
Yeah.
Success, extreme success stresses me out. When I give a big blockbuster, I'm like, oh, now they'll expect a bigger one the next time. Now what am I going to do? It's like, somehow I think like nothing, like success is a heavy feeling to carry with you. So I look at success like I look at sadness, like an obvious eventuality. Like you have to envelop it, embrace it, because it's going to be part of your life. There's a Hindi song, and I'll translate it for you, something that I think is my life philosophy. It says, Rahi manwa dukh ki chinta kyun satati hai, dukh to apna sati hai. So it's like, okay, dear person, like why does sadness affect you and why are you afraid? It actually should be your friend. And the next line is, Sukh hai chhaon dhalti, aati hai jati hai, dukh to apna sathi hai. So it's like happiness is like a shadow, it's like breeze. It's like it'll come in and out of your life, but your constant is sadness. So embrace it because it's going to be your constant. And when sadness and when happiness comes in, it's like sunshine. It'll come and then it'll go back into the clouds. So embrace what you have, which is sadness. And it's such a positive look at sadness or tragedy or dark areas of your life, gray areas of your life, because it's always there. So you might as well befriend it. Because when sunshine comes, you'll enjoy it even more. But know that you have to come back to this. And I don't look at it like with sadness or darkness. I look at it with a lot of joy. So I embrace sadness with a lot of happiness. And that's the only way I think I can live my life.
Karan, you're a philosopher.
I don't know about that. I just think there are certain fundas in life, really, that if you kind of just know that, it's like life and death. We can mourn death. We can feel terrible. But can your life stop? No, you have to move on. Nothing is worse than losing a loved one. But you eventually have to come to terms with the fact that it's happened. That's why there's a full stop. Because the next sentence has to begin. So it's only can start when that full stop is registered and then you move on. I look at life like that. Whatever goes wrong is going to go wrong. Nothing is going to be constantly happy. Nothing is going to be constantly sad. It's the way you have to kind of just understand life. And maybe because as a child I had such a rough patch, I think I kind of armored myself for me to, feel the way I do today about anything.
Who have you lost that full stop was hard to...
My father, he passed away much earlier than I ever imagined when he was in his early 70s and very healthy, on his feet, active man, no vices. He just one day had a fourth stage tumor in his esophagus, which we found out much later when it was in its fourth stage. And that went into full-blown cancer. And he passed from the time of the diagnosis to the point of him passing away was 10 months. I'm a realist. I'm not an optimist or a pessimist. I'm a realist. So I went to the oncologist and we were surprisingly filming Kal Ho Na Ho, which is about a man dying. And it is about a man dying. We were in New York and I went to my oncologist and said, look, my father, tell me, give me the hard fact. And he said, look, it doesn't look good. And I was like, okay, now I know this. that I know it doesn't look good, and we'll do everything in our capacity medically to kind of, but I said, I don't want to see him in pain. And actually, oddly, the 5 days that he had a tough time were the 5 days of his chemotherapy. Those were the tough days, the subsequent days to the chemotherapy. But actually, those 10 days, other months, besides those 5 days, it gave me so much time that I could spend with him, that I had conversations I never thought I would. We discussed my childhood. We discussed his early years. We discussed his achievements, his failures, his regrets, his joys. I have complete closure with my relationship with my father because I have no unanswered questions. Because in those 10 months, I wasn't running around like a headless chicken trying to keep him alive. I had accepted that he may go. And in those months, I lived in the moment with him. And I was able to have all those conversations that I would have loved to have had with him earlier, but I didn't. But those 10 months gave me that. And I even told my mom, I was like, talk to him, speak to him. But she was finding it very tough to accept the situation. So she couldn't. And that's why she still doesn't have closure. 20 years have passed since he passed away, and she still has not been able to deal with his passing away, and she's 82 years old today. Whereas I actually have complete closure because I had every conversation I could have dreamt of having with a parent. I did. And that's why I always tell people, like, communicate today because there may not be a tomorrow. Tell them today anything. You have a problem, you have resentment issues, you have parental trauma, you got to speak today because today communication is the resolve. Is the aid you're looking for, is the solution to every problem. We don't talk. Specifically, I think in our parenting structure in India, we have respect. And respect sometimes equals distance.
Well said,
and that respect should not give you distance in a relationship. Respect should also be a close component of love. It should actually give you the ability to communicate to your parent. Just because you respect your father and mother doesn't mean you can't say what you want. Parents are not always correct. It's not that they are saying the right thing to you all the time. They are carrying the baggage of their parents. And they put that baggage onto you. And you may not need it, or you shouldn't have it. And you have to kind of have an open line of channel. And you can still be respectful. Never not be respectful. Because that's something that our tradition teaches us. Our culture teaches us. But please, I always tell people, keep an open channel of communication with your parent. Because they may not always be correct. They may not always be right. They may not be right. Advice or value system may not be good for you. And you have to sometimes question it.
Yeah, for sure. Was there a specific question you asked or a conversation you remember fondly from that time? As you said, you had every conversation, you asked every question. Is there one that stands out?
I asked him whether he has any regrets. And he spoke to me widely about like his relationship with his parents and his siblings and, what he thought he did wrong as even career-wise and how he thought he was taken for a ride, but he didn't act on it at the right time. He lost a lot of money because some of his indiscretions and, he spoke about that openly. He also spoke about the fact that like sometimes he has things he wants to tell my mom, but he doesn't say it because he doesn't want to hurt or upset her. And he says, I wish I had. Then he told me like, I wish I would have spent more time with you. You would have been, I wish I had incorporated sport in your life. It would have given you a sense of much more because I believe sport is not just for physical health. It also it trains your mind very differently. And he said, I didn't spend enough active time with you because I was so busy working. So he told me a lot about his regrets and his thoughts at that time. And I think it really helped him as well. I think it kind of gave him so much closure.
Yeah.
And I think those conversations are very dear to me. And then he wrote an 11-page letter to me, which I didn't know existed. It was given to me post him passing away.
No way.
Where he wrote all the business or the accounts, and it was a technical letter of everything about like, this is the account, these are my like the businesses that you don't owe money to anyone, it's all done. This is where the bank account, etc., detail, mutual deposits, funds, like whatever the investments were at that time. He gave me like an handwritten. It was written by him in hand. And then he wrote people you can trust, people you can't trust, things you should never do. Like it became my Bible. And I think 90% of it is what I followed. And he wrote me an 11-page letter. And
That's
I still
unbelievable.
Have it.
Had he ever written you a letter before?
Never. He knew he was going.
Yeah,
so
of
he
course,
wrote me that. And it wasn't an emotional letter. It was a practical, thoughtful, business-minded, future-based letter. It was all about me, how to manage the funds, what we have, what we don't have, who owes him money. And he says, but never ask them till they come to you, because, it was all given in good faith. And he said, we don't know anyone anything. So if anyone comes and asks, it's not true. And he gave me every single detail that me, who was not business-minded, had zero business acumen, needed that 11-pager that I followed as my Bible to kind of forge forward at that time.
Wow, what a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
To leave someone. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I've never heard someone leaving their child a practical, thoughtful. I mean, the idea of who to trust and who not to trust.
He never wrote anything that I love you, I will always. None of that. That was said already. It was none of that.
Yeah.
It was not a Hallmark letter.
Yeah.
It was a business letter.
That's unbelievable. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, as I'm listening to you today, I feel like, and I felt this in any of our conversations we've had, but even more so today because I'm learning so much more. There's so much depth and intention behind everything you've done. Like there's even you saying that you follow your intuition, you calling it a superpower, even that idea that we all have superpowers and we can connect to them is quite beautiful. I wanted to go back to something you shared earlier. You were talking about how you don't like being mediocre or average. And there's a beautiful study in science that shows that that's true, because people who come second in a race feel much more disappointed than those who come third.
Yes.
And we think that if you come third, you should feel disappointed. But when you come second, it's much worse.
Yes.
Because you were this close to first.
Yes, yes.
And so even that idea is true for us psychologically, that coming second is the worst feeling in the world. At least third, you made the podium. At least you're up there, standing up there. You're happy that you made it. I wanted to go back to that time when you're working on Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge and you're on the set, because you told me some stories when we were together that blew my mind, because I think what we think of a film set and what you're actually doing and running around trying to make everything happen, that paints a very different picture of this glamorous view of filmmaking that a lot of us have if we're not in the business. Walk us through what the day-to-day and some of those set stories actually look like.
I mean, it was nothing like it is today. Today, we have a department for everything. We have teams for everything. We have like human resources doing everything. We didn't even have a monitor where we could see the frame. We had nothing. It was all dependent on the cinematographer to tell us, And we were three ADs, three assistant directors, who were doing everything. They were doing everything from continuity to like managing actors. There was no such thing as a call sheet. It was like verbally told to everybody. You had to go knocking on doors and saying, tomorrow 9 o'clock, tomorrow 9 o'clock. That's what we did. There was no call sheet. There was no dialogue printed on a computer, and it was handwritten. We wrote handwritten dialogues, and then we Xeroxed them and gave them to actors. Like that's how they had handwritten, like it was predominantly written by us. And then we did everything. I was costume designer. I was also designing Shah Rukh's clothes and costume coordinator and continuity keeper. And Uday Chopra, Adi's brother, was doing all the other. We also handling crowds at live locations, like screaming and shouting and telling them to back off because we are shooting and filming. It was not easy. I mean, and the only thing that traumatized me was doing the clap. I tried to do it for 2 days, and then the DOP, the cinematographer told me, like, you're not going to get this, so just give it to somebody who has like a modicum of intelligence, because I wasn't just managing to stand with that clap. I just would never know where to stand with it. And I was just like, and we were doing every single thing. There was no such, the best learning in my life was on that 1 year of Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, because it was crazy how much we all had to achieve. And today, when I have a costume department, there's production doing there's the crowd management, and then there's a camera department, there are DAs, there are ADs, there's everything. We had nothing. We were like one-stop shops doing everything. I've literally gotten up in the morning, gone to shops, bought like accessories for all the women in the frame, like bangles and those churis and rings and things they put in their hair. Bought them from stations because those were where they were cost were cheaper. Brought them on set, made everyone wear that. Like there was no help, assistance there was like outdoor when we used to shoot like out of the country. When we shot in Switzerland, we were a unit of 21 people. Just 21 people making a movie in one bus. We would sit in one bus, we would drive, and Adi would look at the locations, let's stop. And this looks beautiful, let's go film. And then we used to take Kajol behind a tree, make her wear a sari. And Shah Rukh change anywhere, and then come and shoot. And then we would go back into that bus and start, this is when we were shooting a song sequence. And they were like, oh, this is beautiful. Stop. We could shoot here. And I'm like, it was eventually,
That's crazy,
it seems
yeah. There's
hilarious.
no location scouting.
There was no scout. What scout? We didn't have the money to do it. I mean, back then, like it was like movies. And when you travel out of the country, it was a big deal that you were out of the country. And we were like, everyone held equipment and walked up. If you had to shoot on a mountaintop, Shah Rukh was holding equipment. Kajol was holding equipment. We were all like literally everyone was a team. Everyone had to kind of take stuff. There was no such thing as additional help, support. Today, everyone is so spoiled. Today, you walk into a vanity when an actor has 8 people. There was no publicist. There was no management. There was no anybody. There was nothing. A leading lady had her parent, her mom or her family member there, and the man had nobody. And it was like literally there was like one person doing everything. And I remember at a time when Kajol was in, and her hair and makeup team didn't show up because they didn't get a visa. And I was brushing her hair on set and her mom was doing her makeup. And I didn't know anything about straightening her hair. So her mom helped and we used to straighten her hair together, brush it on set, and then I would go and do all the other stuff because we didn't have a hair and makeup person for her. And, it was like crazy. When I look back on those days, and I remember at one point in time, me and there was a stylist who's now a huge celebrated stylist called Anita Shroff. She was in the film as an actor at that time. And we were told, like, get Kajol in a sari, we have to shoot immediately. So we went to change, and then all of us realized that none of us knew how to tie a sari. Right? Neither did Kajol know how to tie her sari. Neither did Anita know how to make anyone wear a sari. And neither did I know. So I went on memory because I watched my mom wear a sari. So whatever I could remember at that time and whatever Anita, and we've tied that sari in some way, which looks, according to me, terrible. And if anybody watches Dilwale, it's the electric blue sari she wears in the snow in the song Tujhe Dekha, where Shah Rukh is in a red shirt. Please see how she has draped her sari. It's like a kaftan on her or something like that. It's like there's no shape in the draping. There's no technicality. And like, I remember like looking and like, God, pray, please nobody points us out because we didn't know what to do. We had no one to help us. So, I mean, there's just few of the stories to tell you how we made movies back then.
Yeah. And it's
and let me tell you, still, we had the best time.
Yeah.
Today, there was a purity, innocence, and camaraderie that doesn't exist today. Like, it's just today is so structured, but it's also so boring because it's all too organized.
Yeah.
There was some method to that madness that doesn't exist.
Yeah, there was a magic there. There's magic. And was it planned that you would be in the movie yourself? Was that always part of the plan?
The guy who was meant to play the part didn't show up. And like Shah Rukh and Adi turned around and said, you're doing the part. And I was like, you wanted me to be an extra in a movie, as if like I had done anything in my life to achieve that, to say that. But I just had some aspiration, and they were like, just do it. You don't have a choice. And I was like, okay. And my mom got a shock because I didn't tell her that I was in the movie. So when she saw the first time, she was like, what? Like, why did you? I said, okay. So I'm in a blockbuster. That's what matters.
What was the moment on set? Obviously, you have that conversation with Shah Rukh afterwards and people love your friendship. What was the moment where you felt you really connected on that set, that you felt there was some beautiful connection that brought you together?
It was actually the climax. We were shooting the climax much earlier on in the filming of the film. And I had written about 60 or 70% of that scene, and Adi allowed me to write it. And it's the first piece of writing I ever did. And when we were rehearsing the scene, Adi told Shah Rukh that Karan's really helped in the scene and written this much of the scene. And it was very gracious of him to say it. And Shah Rukh looked at me and he was like, you wrote this? So I was like, he's like, really? And he's like, you can write dialogue? I was like, well, he said, but I don't see, like, I just saw, because I was doing his costumes at that time. So he thought that that's where my inclination was that. He didn't even know that I was. So after that, I think he just kind of started talking to me and he realized that, I have such a crazy, passionate cinegoer in me and how passionate I am about the movies. And we began our friendship from then onwards, I think. And then we would hang out every day and he would like ask me to he would read his lines and call me and, he would like rehearse with me because Adi was busy. And then of course, Adi was the magician who created the magic, but he made me he was jam with me on the side before. And I think that's where we formed such a close friendship. It was right, like working when he thought that this kid probably has some potential, and that's something probably that he knows best and will answer best.
Yeah. I remember the leather jacket story you told me.
Oh my God. We all we wanted to buy that Harley Davidson jacket and it was so expensive. It was so expensive at that time. Firstly, no one knew that Harley Davidson made jackets. We just thought they made motorcycles. And we went and Shah Rukh and Adi and everybody like literally like wanted that jacket. And I remember we all had to kind of like really convince each other, put in everything that we had to buy that jacket. It was like crazy. And it was 300 sterling, 300 pound at that time, 350, I'm not sure. But today it's equal to 30,000 maybe. I don't know what it would mean. But like at that time, buying a jacket of that cost was crazy. But I remember staring at it and feeling like, can we even afford it? And at that time, everyone then did what they could to make sure that we got that jacket, which today is so iconic and such a part of the film. It's like Manish was doing the costumes of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and we were passing a store that had that Polo Sport T-shirt, which he wears in the song Koi Mil Gaya. And it was at a cycle shop. Because where cycling shops have these colored, wear, which is not a wear. So I was like, it said Polo Sport colored T-shirt, bright blue and green, for 75 pounds. And I was like, we can't. We thought about it for 3 days. And we made some sacrifices in our budget to buy that at that time. And I was like, today one wouldn't blink an eyelid and just buy it. But at that point in time, it was like a massive decision to make.
Yeah. The reason why these stories are so important to me is because I was an 11 to 14-year-old kid trying to dress like that.
Yeah.
In real life, you'd get the turtleneck with the suit, which comes later on in Kuch Kuch. You have the polo sport shirt that you mentioned.
No, I know, and those gaps. So we decided that if we were buying the brands, we must show them. They must be written. Unlike today where people are doing quiet luxury, this was not quiet. This was screaming brand luxury. So Gap and DKNY and Polo Sport, Tommy Hilfiger, it was like, we just splashed all over. We said that we must show that we bought these expensive garments. If we're paying the money, people must know. Today, who would do it? It was crazy. We would never do it today. But that time it was like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to tell everyone we spend this money.
You weren't just impacting my love life. You were impacting my fashion choices, my wardrobe, everything in our life through all your movies. And I think that was the biggest thing. I remember watching Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and like you watch that movie and you just think, everyone wants a love story like that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wants that. Everyone's looking for that, yearning for that, searching for that. And I found myself, all these movies literally became a compass for my life.
Yeah.
Whether it was fashion, whether it was love, whether it was life, whether it was success. And in the same way you said for yourself, they became that place. And my early teenage years and childhood also, different from you in terms of the type of criticism I was facing, but I was also experiencing some of those things. I was overweight as a child, so I was bullied for that. There weren't many Indian kids at my elementary, primary school, so I was bullied for that because there just weren't many Indians in the area that my parents chose to live in. And I remember I used to always act in school plays and dramas, and I loved that. But I remember once my mum had asked me to sing a bhajan for Diwali at my school. And my friends didn't really know what Diwali was. They didn't know what a bhajan was. And my mum had dressed me up as Lord Ram.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm dressed up basically in a sari, kind of like a toga, because like you were dressing people on set, my mum had dressed me up. It wasn't professional. She'd even put some makeup on me. And I walked on stage and my whole circle of friends just started laughing. Everyone in the audience just started laughing because they'd never seen a kid dressed like that. And then I remember I started singing this bhajan. I have a terrible singing voice. I can't sing to save my life. And everyone starts laughing more. And now I'm crying on stage. And I look down at the page and now all of the lines are blurred because my tears have blurred the lines. So I forget the lines. So people are laughing more. And then the worst thing happens, my teacher comes on stage. She puts her arm around me and walks me off stage, which everyone laughs and claps at more. And so it almost feels like your movies, like what those older movies were for you, your movies were for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have a space to experience magic or experience love in that way. Again, my parents were wonderful, but I remember if I liked a girl at school, she would tell the whole class and everyone would laugh. Like that was kind of my experience of that. So your movies were a place where I felt a bit safer, a bit cooler, a bit, a bit more hip and trending.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
How does that feel? Because you travel across the world and millions of people probably say that to you now. You probably hear that a lot from people like myself who grew up on that.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I mean, a whole lot of gratitude. There's so much gratitude in my heart. Like I'm always overwhelmed when anyone comes up to me. I mean, I heard you just now, and I've heard so many people you meet invariably at events or parties or even airports. People just come up and, just say things that how you've impacted their childhood or like their growing years, and that the cinema has really like helped them seek a certain sense of joy. And you feel like you are not just contributing to pop culture or cinema, but also to people's hearts and minds and their souls. Like, because everyone needs some love, and everyone, if your cinema has provided that love for them, and like, just, it's such a beautiful feeling for me. It never makes me feel proud of myself. It just always makes me feel grateful to the universe that allowed me to be a storyteller and allowed me a platform that could be impressionable, that could give people love and joy. And even shedding a tear, because we all know a cathartic cry is
Too many tears.
is the most soulful thing to happen to you. Like, just crying is such a beautiful release. That's my one big emotion, is gratitude. That's it. There's nothing more than that. Just grateful every day.
Yeah, no, what you're referring to, all these movies had so many great messages, undertones, so many fascinating perspectives. What's your personal inner spiritual journey been like through all of this?
I think I found myself in the last 5 or 7 years. I'm 52 today. So it started with me conforming to like religious practices, because it was like, my mom is from Sindh. She's Sindhi. My dad is Punjabi. So my dad had a prayer in the morning, which was like a blend of many prayers. He prayed to many gods, because he was like, he believed, he was Arya Samaji. He didn't believe in any form of ritual but he believed in like havans. So, we used to pray in the morning, then we had havans on important occasions, because he believed that was a beautiful aura and energy cleansing way, of doing a havan. My mother and my father both believed in the Gurdwara. So I believe in going to langars in my growing years, I believe in, going very often to Gurdwaras across the country. Golden Temple being my most soulful place where I can really find peace and happiness, in the Golden Temple in Amritsar. So I remember then going to temples as well, and, idol worshipping, and I did everything. I remember walking to a temple one day before the release of a film, because all this is because it was told to me. I hadn't found my own inner voice vis-a-vis religion or spirituality or worship or belief. I went through my process of going to even like religious, like pundits and astrologers and charts, and, going through psychics and everything. Just finding all the tools you can to protect yourself and preserve things you have. Till I realized that I don't want to be someone that I don't want to be. And I don't believe that I'm going to do anything that's not coming from my heart. I believe that life lessons have equaled my spirituality in the moment. What I've learned and what I imbibe and what I say and what I believe is going to be my journey ahead. So if I feel like going to a place, if someone calls me to worship an idol and I don't feel it, I won't go. It's not that I have nothing against anybody else's religious belief, but it may not necessarily be mine. So my belief is karma-based. My big belief is in karma. I believe that karma is a bank that you have to keep depositing on a daily basis. The more your karma collects, the more your world and your family and your loved ones are protected. I believe being good is karma. Giving is karma. Helping is karma. Supporting is karma. Coming in someone's way is bad karma. Hurting someone is bad karma. Stopping someone's growth is bad karma. Just, betraying someone is bad karma. I don't want that. So I believe my religion or my spiritual school of thought is karma related. It's all about building my karma points, my karma bank. I want that to be the richest part of me, is my karma bank. And that is to me my religion, my spirituality, my everything. So there's a line in a Yash Chopra film called Tera Karam Hi Teri Vijay Hai, which means your karam is your victory. And that is what I believe. What's the point of me going to temples and places of worship, but actually stabbing somebody in their back? What is the point of me chanting every morning if I'm being terrible in my relationships or my friendships or being insensitive? What is the point of me learning, discoursing, like reading books, but not operating? And people, and I don't judge anyone for what they do. You do you. You be you. If every morning meditating and chanting is your thing, please do it. To me, I get peace from my actions, from my doings. When I can genuinely contribute to somebody's life, I sleep better that night. That's all I'm doing, Jay, is that I'm actually building that bank.
Yeah.
That to me is my belief system.
If someone feels upset, or sometimes if you feel you've upset someone, how do you transform
I
that?
apologize, firstly. There's nothing wrong in saying sorry. There's nothing wrong in reaching someone's residence and saying, look, I was insensitive and I apologize. I did you wrong. I did something wrong. I said something wrong. I overspoke in the moment. Or I wasn't there for you. And I believe that ego it's so restrictive. It stops you at every stage. So you have to, as a human being, realize the difference between ego and self-respect. There is a difference. There's a huge difference.
Tell us. Yeah.
Ego is very simple. Ego is unproductive and idiotic. Anyone who has an ego, it's stupid. If I come to your party uninvited, because I feel I can, I don't have an ego. If you treat me well, that's great. But if you treat me badly and I've come uninvited, that hurts my self-respect. Then I leave that party. So we preserve our self-respect, but we kill our ego. Self-respect is everything. How people treat you, how they respect you, how they deal with you is dabbling onto self-respect. Me having an ego because I feel I'm a public figure and I deserve something, I'm entitled to something, that's an ego. Who am I? We're all a dot. In the larger galaxy of the world, who is anybody? We're all one dot. Know that you're a dot. You could be the biggest achiever in this world, but you are still one tiny dot. And you will be erased. And another dot will come in your place. So when you look at life like this, we are all nobody. So how dare you have an ego? Self-respect you have to do for your soul. You have to do it for yourself. So I understand the difference. And I try very hard never to bring my ego. We're all going to get it. Ego, we're human. We're going to fail and fall and fumble. But
of course.
I don't want ego to be my speed breaker. I don't want it to come in my way. So if I mess up, if I am insensitive and I have done something that I believe is incorrect, I will apologize. I will apologize.
Where did these ideologies come from within you?
I have no idea. I think it's acknowledging your circumstance, embracing the life that you've led, understanding your failures, acknowledging your missteps. All that teaches you, right? You know where you've gone wrong, what you've done wrong, and what you need to correct and what you need to course correct. And that gives you a certain sense of life lessons. For me, I love what you do and I love what you say and I love your belief system. I can never be you, but I can always listen to you. But many a time I've interviewed spiritual leaders and with a lot of respect, I go, and whether it's from, in India, we have so many spiritual leaders. I've had the good fortune of interviewing myself. I've learned, I've imbibed. But if you ask me, do I follow anyone? No, I don't. I follow my life's errors and my life's strengths. And I learn from that and I follow and I chart my own path ahead. I don't believe in a certain religious force. I don't believe in a certain human guru. I don't believe, I have no belief, personal belief, and I don't have anyone's image on my phone or in my room, barring my parents. I believe when you lose a parent, also you gain a God. And I believe my God is my father. So when I'm in distress or I'm in duress and I'm in a zone of turbulence in my life, I turn to my dad and I'm like,
even now, yeah.
Help me. Like, what are you doing up there? Like, move your magic. Like, take your magic wand out. You can help me. You can do this. You can come through. It's not that everything comes through when you pray, but at least you're communicating to a higher force.
Yes.
And I believe that force is genuinely a higher force. I know for a fact that he is there in the universe somewhere. And I know his spirit is listening to me. So I know somebody, but I don't know what else God is. I don't know where this force is, but I know my father's somewhere in the universe.
Yeah.
So I believe when you lose a parent, you do gain a God. And that's the one thing I live by as well.
Yeah. And I love what you were saying about, I think ultimately life is trying to teach each and every one of us to trust ourselves, to not have this false external dependence on some external force in this world, as opposed to actually discovering within us where those answers evolve and come from.
Because like you've been brought into this world. The nature is an unexplainable phenomena. How we've all been born and we live this life. We're in this moment right now. I'm talking, you're listening. It's all so fantastical if you really look at it from an external gaze. I don't want to be dependent on anything because I need to find my own answers. I have to ask my own questions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that accountability and responsibility transforms people's lives. And I think that's what we should hope for everyone, and everyone should aspire for, rather than hoping that someone else will
And again,
make a
I say
choice.
to each his own.
Yeah.
If you find your space, your happiness, your joy in your belief system, you must do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
If you feel this is what I need to do for myself, please do it.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong in any practice,
Yeah.
in any belief system. There's just perspective. You have it for yourself, you operate therefore.
Yeah, definitely. When in your life did you realize you were comfortable being single?
When I turned 40, I had a deep desire of finding a partner. And I was like, how can I be single? I need love. I need this. I need that. And then I went ahead and had my babies. I was fortunate before, the laws were made, I could have, through the legal route, my babies. And when the babies were born in 2017, I realized that my quota of love that I felt was owed to me by the universe was brimming, was full. And the biggest love story in my life is now my mom and my kids. And I felt like, okay, so I could get the joy of intimacy with somebody. I could be physically intimate with a person and enjoy that experience. I could be dating somebody who kind of helps complete that moment in my life. But do I really need an external human being, another person to live with, to complete me? No, I feel very complete already. And am I closing that door completely? Not at all. You never know. You never say never. But today, if you ask me, am I looking? No. Am I dating? No. Am I happy being single? Yes. Am I happy sharing my bedroom with no one? Yes. My bathroom with no one? Yes. Do I think I can? No. If I'm in a relationship, get a room. We'll meet for breakfast. We'll meet for lunch and dinner, but you can't stay with me. I'm now set in my way. Will I fall in love? Well, I hope I rise in it firstly. And because I've done my bit of falling, it's not fun. And I've been through one-sided love stories. I've been through unrequited romances. I've been through my own trauma vis-a-vis emotional search for your partner. It's not worked for me. Let's just say it's not for me. At age 52, am I closing that door? Like I said, no, I'm not. But I'm very happy with my single status. I can't tell you the joy it gives me.
Did you ever have your heart broken?
Yes. Oh, yes. Twice. Second time was tougher. Second time was a long love story of which I actually was almost cathartic, because for me, I kind of autobiographically told it in Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, the story of one-sided love.
Yes. I've seen it. I really
that
like
story is mine. Of course, I'm Ranbir Kapoor in that, because I'm the one chasing somebody I couldn't get, and wanting something and no one lied to me. The person involved never lied to me. Always was clear. But I was just wanting it. And I was not myself in those 7 years. I was not my personality type. I was out of character. I did things out of character. And I hate those years. When I look back, I'm like, I was so weak, but then it also empowered me. It made me feel alive. One part of me also felt like, oh, that romance, that love, that yearning is still there. So it was a bit of like two things that were going on. One, I was hating the person I was being in those 7-8 years, but I was also enjoying the fact that love had come back into my life, like it had rejuvenated. But that was a tough time. It taught me so much and made me mildly cynical at the end of that experience about love. Now I'm okay, because I'm over that as well. Like, I'm not cynical about love. I'm just happy being single.
How did you heal and overcome that? Because that 7 years is a long time.
I also went through a bout of anxiety in that phase. And that was my first burst, with a psychiatrist, where I actually spoke about it. And I needed medication because I was feeling, I didn't realize at that time what I was going through till she analyzed it for me and said, it's a form of depression. You are going through this and it's anxiety, and you need to be medicated if you want to lead a regular, normal life. And those sessions with her really helped me. That medication helped me. I weaned it off eventually. But then I came back into it in March last year, where I got this attack. Actually, you were there.
Yeah, we talked about it.
At NMAC, at the convention center launch, which is, by the way, outstanding. It was 1,000 people, and I was standing right there. And at one point, I thought I couldn't breathe. And I looked at a friend of mine and I said, just take me into an empty room, because I thought I couldn't move. Like, I had to be guided into the room. And he gave me water and I had regular Coke because I felt my sugar had dropped. And I left and I went to my doctor and I thought, is this a cardiac arrest? It was a panic attack. It was an anxiety attack. I went back into my medication. I'm still on it. And I realized that what happened in the last 2 years, strangely, from the most sociable person, is that I developed what you call social anxiety. I'm okay with places that I'm really comfortable. But if you take me in a room full of crowded people, of people I know and who know me, I have to leave. I can't take it. I need windows. I need some outdoor space. You take me to a place where nobody knows me and I don't know anybody, and oddly I'm fine. So I don't know what it's to do, and we've analyzed it at my sessions with her. But I'm uncomfortable in crowds or people after a point. I always leave parties early, and this is a new thing that has started in my life. I don't like to go. I get cold feet before, any kind of a massive big event I have to go to. But if I'm on stage hosting an award show, I'm fine. If you put me on stage and there are 10,000 people in front of me, I'm okay. But if I'm in that 10,000 people, you take me to a rock concert or I won't be able to do it.
Wow.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just don't like to be in the middle of a crowd. And from somebody who thrived on it, from somebody who loved it, from somebody who was at every single social event and party because I really wanted to and loved it, I've gone the exact opposite way.
What changed?
I have no clue, Jay. I have no idea what happened. I think it was excessive in my life, and now it's like, it's too much of something, and then you start developing a fear of it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. Like, I have the most ironical thing happened to me is that I developed a form of social anxiety.
Would you ever want to go back to being the other way again, or it's
I think
more just
I'm not saying
managing
I'm happy with the situation because I'm on medication,
Right.
but I don't know if I want to go back to that either. I think I've found what I did find in these years is a lot of great joy spending time with myself. I found myself as my closest companion. I was never my best friend. I've become very close to myself in the last couple of years. I finally feel like my companion is now me. My life partner is now me. And we're getting along really well. I'm also Gemini, so that also works in a certain way.
that's
You
a
get two for the
beautiful place
price
to
of
be
one. But I finally found my life companion.
Yeah.
And we're doing very well.
Yeah. I actually think that's a beautiful place to be, even when you're in a relationship. So my wife and I, we're thankful to have a wonderful relationship. We've been together for 11 years now. And I still feel that my relationship with myself is my most important relationship.
Yeah.
And she does with herself. And I think that that's so important,
Yeah.
even in a relationship, because otherwise, if you're always trying to fill your gaps with the other person and you have to call them and you have to message them and you have to be together, A, it's not physically possible. B, you will be separated at some point, whether through travel or by life, inevitably. And building that relationship with yourself, to be able to spend a weekend by yourself, an evening, months sometimes, I think is one of the most beautiful traits and abilities. So to hear about it from you is actually really, really special. And one thing that you shared with me that really resonated with me about social anxiety was this feeling we all have of letting people down.
Yeah.
And so when it's the people that are around us that we know, we all have this feeling of like, I hope that person doesn't feel I didn't say hello to them, and person maybe.
So that people pleasing has been part of my personality type for years. And so even now today, if I'm at a party, I think the social anxiety also was a result of like, have I met everybody? Have I gone and wished everybody? Have I been nice to them? Have I hugged them warmly? These thoughts keep coming in. Even I have message reply anxiety. Like, have I replied? Have I forgotten to reply? And I always write sorry for my delayed response if I'm always replying. It's that people pleasing was part, and that continues, and that's part of my anxiety. And you're absolutely right that this does happen to me. Like, I feel like, have I met everybody warmly? Have I said, if I'm at the party and there are 10 people I know I can see from the corner of my eye, but I haven't met them, it plays on my head. Oh, it's exhausting. I can never be at a party and just sit in one place and talk to one person. I'll feel like I'm upsetting 100 people. They may not be upset at all, but I can't fight that thought.
Yeah.
It's in my head.
Yeah. And it's real.
I don't want to win this popularity contest with anyone, because Lord knows I may not be the most popular person or whatever people I think. But the people I know who love me and know me as who I am. And, but somehow that personality type doesn't leave you.
Yeah.
Of wanting to please people.
Yeah. And it's deep wiring and deep conditioning. Like we've all had it since we were so young to be that person. And then with someone like yourself, the more you grow, the more people you know, the more expectations. And maybe sometimes in the past, like you said, not everyone cares, but the few people who did care, maybe sometimes they've judged you or interact in a certain way. I know I've been through that myself.
And it happens to me because I'm always meeting people in a certain way that if I sometimes meet them slightly tepidly, they're like, it's not like you to be like this. Are you okay? Like, why? I'm like, it's like you have to put up an act on a show.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the funny guy in the room, then you have to always be funny. And sometimes you just don't want to be.
Yeah.
And I reached that point in my life. Like, I get that so often when I'm just quiet. They're like, are you sad about something? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm just quiet.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to be quiet. I don't need to crack a joke.
Yeah.
I don't need to say a funny thing. I know I can be funny, but I don't want to be today. Can you just leave me? But nobody does, because you're conforming. If I don't reply to a message to a person because it slipped me, they're like, not like you not to reply, because I get that. Because I am so good at communication that when you don't, so all this, I think, put together has built this anxiety.
Yeah, and I think I shared with you, I feel that pressure sometimes, or I used to many years ago, that I let go of, was everyone was always waiting for me to say something profound.
Yeah.
And just waiting for you to say something that's
But you
gonna
could
be
also
earth-shattering.
enjoy saying something frivolous.
Yeah, totally.
Why?
Totally. And I don't like to give unsolicited advice also. So if someone's not sitting with me as a client, as someone that I'm guiding, as someone that I have that kind of relationship with, I'm not just going to suddenly tell them life advice or tell them how to
No,
live.
for what? Yeah.
And if I don't know you at all, sometimes I'll say to people like who I've spent 10 seconds with them, they say, can you give me some life-changing advice? I'm like, the most life-changing advice I can tell you is I don't know you. And you know yourself better than I know you. So you're more likely to find it within you, because I don't have all the answers to everything. I don't know everything about everything. And I don't believe anyone does either. And so I totally resonate with it in my own way. And I think everyone who's listening, whether they're a public figure or not, I know everyone feels this way.
Yeah, because I always feel like people are seeking some sense of guidance, validation, searching. That's why you resort to spiritual forces, religious forces, learnings, books, discourses. And I'm like, you know the answer. If you really looked within, you have the answer. Like I said right at the top of our chat, instinct will tell you. You'll know this is the right thing to do. You don't need anyone to guide you. And of course, people must, of course, do what they need to do in the moment. But really, we do have the answers. We underestimate ourselves as a race. Yeah. We all know what we really need to satisfy our souls.
Yeah. You define yourself on Instagram as a father first, then a filmmaker. And I was very grateful to meet Rukh and Yash last time I was here in Mumbai. They were so sweet and so wonderful and playful. And I was wondering, like, being a only child, now being a single parent, how is that, and having beautiful parents who you speak of so highly, how has that impacted your journey of being a father?
It's very difficult. Firstly, I have to say, being an only child and a single parent is a double whammy no one asks for or wants, but it just so happened. The choice I made of being a single parent is something, but I didn't choose to be an only child. That was my parents' choice. But today, when my mom is not doing very well and she's keeping poor health, it's really tough because you're constantly torn. And there's guilt. Every time I'm with my parents and with my mom, with my kids and joyous, I feel about my mom. When I'm with my mom, then I feel I'm denying my children time. It's like you feel, and I live with my mom. We live together. So I'm very grateful that I can, be a part of her immediate day and take care of her needs and requirements. But I'm not there a lot because I also run a studio. So and a creative studio, you are the one point of contact for so many things at a given point of time. There are 18 questions people have on a daily basis and you have to constantly answer. So it's all right now. Right now is, as I said, an emotionally tough time in a sense because my mother's health and my kids at a certain impressionable age, they're 8, and then the studio, everything is like happening all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once, and like it's a bit daunting. But again, like I said, what's the point of like feeling terrible? Because self-pity is also a spa, it makes you feel really good temporarily, but it's not going to, like, you'll need that treatment once in a while, but you can't live in a spa, to get out of there and face the world. Yeah. So I love visiting that spa once in a while, feel terrible for myself. I'll sit there in that spa, feel terrible for myself, and then know that I have to get out there and make it all happen.
Yeah.
So right now, how does it make me feel? It makes me feel like a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah. How do you help your children prepare for, like you were saying at the beginning of our conversation, the different life that they have as you had? And what are some of the things you have to think about, talk about, connect with them, communicate about to help them prepare in the way that you didn't have?
I didn't have a lot. So I was able to kind of find my feet my own way. The kids, whether I like it or not, are much more entitled and privileged than I ever was. They have much more already. So I have to first kind of ground them and root them. It's very tough.
Which is so hard.
It's very tough.
So hard.
How do you do it? Because they're already, in a good car, in a good home, on holiday, staying at the best hotels, traveling well, eating well. Nothing is denied to them. So, and when you deny, then there's peer pressure comparison with other kids who are getting stuff and you're not giving it to them. Then you combat that. I have no one to share that responsibility. So all I can do is teach them goodness and kindness and sociability. Like I can be kind. I always say, so at least the moral value system I can control. Or rather, control is a too strong a word. I can monitor or I can look over. I can make sure that they're good, kind souls. That's all that I tell them to be. Be kind, helpful, share. Be warm, meet people warmly, respect your elders, respect your friends. Life lessons like that is what I'm really focusing on. Because the privilege, I cannot do anything about. I can, of course, make changes and tweaks, but they are born to privilege and there's nothing I can do about that. Yeah. So I've learned to kind of accept that and mold them as human beings. Because I hope that eventually they're strong human beings, they will understand the power of privilege and know how to handle it when they grow older.
I think you're right. I think that's the right order. Yeah. If you try and disrupt the privilege, you can't. It will always be there.
There's no point. It's like fighting a battle that, you won't win.
Yeah.
But if I tomorrow make them good, solid human beings, they will not misuse their privilege.
Yeah. How is your feeling around the word man and masculinity change from those early days of being told you were not man enough, you didn't run like a man or walk like a man? How do you now define what it means to be a man and masculinity?
I mean, what is machismo and masculinity and, what does it even mean? It's a gender you were born with. You have nothing to do with that. You have no reason to feel gloat about something that you had no control over. You're a man, so, what makes you superior? What makes you feel superior? What makes you in control or command? You're just a human being as much as a woman is. That's the same thing. I think that equality is all this inequality rather comes from age-old, society, and patriarchy and misogyny is all part of it's things that we just keep inheriting. And you've got to, at some point of time, just know that it's not a privilege that you're a man. No. There's not a privilege. And how dare you think it is one? I don't know if today I walk this way and they're like, walk like a man. I'm like, no. I'm walking like myself and I love myself and I will walk the way I want to. I refuse for people in my household to tell my children don't wear pink because boys don't wear pink. My son wears pink. I will never ever tell my girl don't cry. I tell my son don't cry like a girl because these are things that have been told to me. No, he can cry. He's allowed to cry. He can run how he wants to. He can wear what he wants to. She can do what she wants to. They're both in taekwondo class together. They both play football. They both sing and dance. They both go to the hula hoop class. They both do everything. That's how I want my kids to be. They must be of course, my son has some so-called conforming boyish, he does and she does. He doesn't play with her dolls, but I've never encouraged. I never just bought dolls for her. I buy 2 of everything. So if I'm buying her a doll, I buy him a doll. Then it's his choice whether he wants to. But I'm not making any differentiation because to me, they are the same. I know of the price I had to pay emotionally for being singled out. And I do not want to do that with my children. Mm-hmm. Walk like a human being if you can and are able to.
Yeah.
Do not give yourself a gender because a gender is not something that you had any control over. I can't give you a gold medal because you're born as a man. Your sperm chose to be one. That's all. That's all. Somebody's sperm chose to be one. Sorry. Someone's egg and sperm made you a man. You have nothing to do with. Like that. So I mean, I don't ever think masculinity and machismo and all that are things that I even want to discuss because it's so irrelevant to my way of thinking.
Yeah. Do you think that, not that you've tried to be this and not that you claim to be this, but that you being so open about these conversations has actually pushed the culture along as well?
I've done my bit, Jay, to kind of contribute to people of a certain orientation, to the community, through my cinema, through some of my own thoughts and expressions. In my own way, I thought that maybe if I talk about it through my work, it'll be impressionable, and I hope it has. I've never shied away from talking about myself or what I represent, and I will always be the person I am. I've never conformed to society, so to say. I've always done what I've done, to dress the way I wanted to, express myself through my cinema, my fashion, myself, my thoughts, my ideologies. I've never ever pretended to be somebody I wasn't. I'm proud to be who I am, who I was born to be. And I've told my life story to the midpoint of my life, and I plan to tell it further. And I want my kids to have that same level of confidence and joie de vivre that I have today being myself. I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm not apologetic of who I am, and I never will be.
How hard was it to get to that clarity?
We live in a society that is judgmental and that is quick to kind of point a finger at you. If you're different from them, you grow to kind of being the person you are without conforming to tradition. I always knew that marriage was not for me. I always knew that, I didn't have to lie about who I was. I just knew these things somehow. They just came to me naturally. And I think it's to do with my progressive parenting. It's to do with the fact that my parents allowed me to who I was. They never questioned anything. They never told me, don't wear that, don't do this, don't dance like that, don't walk like that. No one told me anything. Unknowingly, perhaps, maybe, they were very progressive and very, very forward thinking in their approach to me. I was privileged because of my parenting, not because of my monetary circumstance or my financial circumstance at that time. I was privileged to very progressive parents. Not everybody around me has that privilege. My request is always to parents that, please know that your child has to be loved no matter what you think or you believe in. Love is something that you cannot not give. If they are of a certain orientation, you have to accept it. And you have to allow them to be the person they are because they choose to be that. And they want to be that, and give them the freedom and joy of being that.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's great advice. Great advice. I mirror it similarly. I think my parents gave me the freedom. When I told them I wanted to be a monk, they weren't the happiest. It's not the best news to get as parents, but they never blocked me. They never stopped me. When I told them I wanted to leave the monastery, they never blocked me. They never stopped me. Same as when I said I'm going to move to New York and then later on to LA. Again, I think unknowingly, my parents were very progressive as well. And that has been such a gift in my life, because even if uncles and aunts and society and people around us were judging those decisions or questioning them, because they were not positive about it, but they weren't negative about it. They were neutral about it. And that created such a freedom for me to become who I wanted to be and not become who they wanted me to be. And my father was somewhat aloof in my early years too. And that was so useful. A lot of people, and it's fair when people feel like their parents weren't around. I think my father not being around allowed me to become the man I wanted to be and choose the male role models that I wanted to have. Yeah. So Karan Johar, you have been so kind and gracious with your time. Thank you so much. We end every interview of On Purpose with a final 5. These questions have to be answered in 1 word to 1 sentence maximum. And I will break those rules, and I'm sure you will too. But Karan Johar, these are your final 5. The first question is, what is the best advice you've ever heard or received?
My father. People need people. That's the 3 words. Yeah. If I have to expand on it, he says that if you're not there for people, they won't be there for you. So, you just people need people. Yeah. That's what he always told me. Yeah, and it's okay to ask for help. What is equal in Hindi, it's called dunyadari. So I live by that. You be there for people, they'll be there for you. Yeah, and it's okay to ask for help as well when you are helping others, naturally. Second question, what is the worst advice you've ever heard or received? To listen to others. Question number 3, you've been hosting one of the most incredible talk shows. I think it's 20 season now? Yeah. 20 years? Unbelievable. Yeah. What's your favorite question to ask people? It's also got me into a lot of trouble. It's not my favorite question, actually. I used to do these comparisons, which I think is incorrect, and I won't do it again, because why compare one to the other? And I used to always say, oh, Ranbir or Ranveer, and I'm like, how stupid. This is not like idiotic, and I think that's not something. But my favorite question, I think on that show, it's not our kind of chat, which was evolved and, it's so intense. It's so surface, that chat show. That's a
I
lot of
enjoy it
fun.
though. It's fun. I enjoy
and
it.
it's like guilty pleasure. So I think whenever I do that show, the entire show, the vibe is like, there's no favorite question. It's just the vibe is like, it's like downtime chat, talking about things that have no relevance or absolutely are immaterial to your way of being. But it's just like you've taken 1 hour to have a great time and you want to give an audience a great time watching it. So it's like, that whole show is like one big great question.
Yeah. I've enjoyed watching many episodes. Question number 4. What's something that you wish people knew about you that maybe they don't?
They think what they know about me,
Something you wish people knew
that
about
I can be sexy.
Oh, okay. Now people know that, no?
I don't think so.
Me and you talk about fashion.
I think not outwardly.
Okay.
Yeah, I come across a little like vanilla, which I'm not.
Oh, interesting. You think you come across vanilla?
I do.
Why is that?
I don't know. I come across very vanilla, I think, to people, but I'm not.
Okay.
Not when the door shuts.
Okay. Anything more?
No.
This has turned into a Coffee with Karan episode.
Yeah. I'm suddenly like, why am I discussing my sex life with you? No,
you've completely transformed.
It's just that I'm not vanilla.
Yeah.
There is some chocolate sauce there.
Okay. I love it. Great. 5th and final question. We ask this to every guest who's ever been on the show. If you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Equality. In every which way. Pay parity. In every which way.
Any expansion? Or?
I get like, I don't get it actually sometimes. I feel like I know and I've been there when I've seen like a man and a woman do the same thing and the man get more money for it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I wish that equal pay was something that really was a law. Like if there are 2 people doing the exact same job, why is sometimes the man given more money? For what joy? There's no logical. They both have the same educational qualifications, same work experience, and yet the man will get more. I wish and desire for pay parity in the world.
And how does that work in the film industry?
It's the same thing. It's like the same thing. Like what is in the film industry is not different from the rest of the world. It's same everywhere. From a hire behind like at a coffee shop to like right up there to a corporate force to the world of politics to anywhere, films, entertainment, everywhere there is that difference. And I wish for it to kind of be eroded.
Right. Karan Johar, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful. I felt like I learned so much about you today. I genuinely feel you have so many lessons to teach. You've actually, since the time I met you, become one of my favorite storytellers in person. You're always on screen, but I think you tell great stories. You have so much attention to detail. And today I learned about the philosophical and sexy side of you too. And so I'm very grateful for your time.
I'm glad I could put that out. Maybe there'll be some takers right after this. I'm waiting. I'll let you know, Jay, if there's any positive ramification to this. Yes, in America. I will go there often enough.
Yes.
So I hope that there is some positive result to that last declaration of mine.
I hope that our next dinner in LA that you're giving me some news.
Is fruitful.
Yeah. I love it.
It was lovely to see you, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Karan.
Thank you.
If this is the year that you're trying to get creative, you're trying to build more, I need you to listen to this episode with Rick Rubin on how to break into your most creative self, how to use unconventional methods that lead to success, and the secret to genuinely loving what you do. If you're trying to find your passion and your lane, Rick Rubin's episode is the one for you.
Just because I like it, that doesn't give it any value. Like, as an artist, if you like it, that's all of the value. That's the success comes when you say, I like this enough for other people to see it.